Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Are You Present?
Okay.
How you
So,
been?
huh?
How you been?
I've been mostly great. Yeah, mostly great, mostly good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you like a month, I think.
Whenever we filmed last, was it a whole month?
It feels like it's been a while.
Whoa. Whoa. Lots has happened.
It has for you.
Well, life, death, you know?
You had to deal with the death of that's right, your friend's father.
Yeah. But I had an interesting experience. It wasn't my dad, and I feel for her, an only child, etc. I lost her last parent. But and I don't want to dismiss her, but we're here talking about us, like I spent 2 hours in a hospital room with a recently deceased body. Like I got to the hospital right after he passed and stayed with her in the room for 2 hours
Wow.
with him in the room. So it was pretty surreal, unique, interesting, really really with death right there.
How old was he?
77. I want to say he was born in like 45 or something like that, around there.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to keep talking about death, but I want to ask, like, how long has it been since your dad, and how are you?
I am good. I'm good, yeah. It's been now 6, 7, 8 months. It feels like it feels like it was a long time ago, and it also feels like it was recent,
Mm.
which is really odd.
Hmm.
But I also haven't seen him in a long time. My sister had
Mm.
gone to visit him when he was in Mexico because he retired there. So my sister went to go see him, but I was going to see him. He was supposed to come this past summer,
Mm.
and we were talking about where he's going to stay, and I was going to pick him up at the airport, and I was really looking forward to that, but it didn't happen.
How old was he?
74.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry you didn't get to see him before.
Yeah, that does get me pretty bummed because I wanted him to see, where I live and how I live.
Do you believe that he's in spirit form and he can see where you live now? Or do you have,
I think about that. I do, but then I think about, do they really see it just like this?
hmm.
Do they really see just like this, or do they see some version of it?
Do they feel you more than see you?
Like feel you, and then get to feel. Well, they get to feel you one, and then also know your thoughts. I'd imagine at some level. So then they see
I
questions are,
always wonder.
huh?
I always wonder if any things are knowing my thoughts, hearing my thoughts.
I would say, if anything, that's like the most important because, especially for like my mother, I think my mother, because she had so many other things going on in her brain, that she misunderstood me. And also, my father didn't really know me,
Oh.
like really understand me. So, and people listen to what other people say.
Hmm.
And I guess you've known me for decades. And compared to most people, I'm pretty optimistic and positive consistently.
Hmm.
And uh, some people say that my superpowers, a matter of fact, someone just said this like a week ago. Yeah, someone said it through Instagram that she lives in ex-girlfriend. She lives in Costa Rica, and she said that my optimism is like a superpower. That I'm always like positive and figure out a way.
And it's like it's without medication.
Yeah, I don't take any medication. That's actually, I wouldn't have thought anything big. I would not have thought that was a big statement, but so many people on medication, it's just mind blowing. And I was just dating somebody that was like, that's on medication for like antidepressant. And
Hmm.
it's just most people, most people on some sort of medication or self-medicating.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, either, drinking or
Smoking.
smoking pot, um, or on some antidepressant or on Adderall. It's just wild. It is just
And
so wild how many people, but people, and then because, I'm not a doctor, but I'm like, hey, what about having regular sleep and eating well and staying away from, sugar and try to figure out your baseline and try to use elimination diet. But people get all angry. And I realized that it's exactly like the way people relate to religion. Because what I realized is that there's no way that some large percentage of the planet is just going to hell because they were born into the wrong religion. There's no way that religion or consciousness would like let this happen. There's no way. Like you're just born a certain way, the same way that you're born into like a poverty or you're born into wealth. It isn't like you could hold that against the person because they were born that way,
right.
right? So anyway, that's what I thought was so great about Religious List, that movie, that
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
Hmm.
So, you know, a comedian, but yet he's satirical and real. He's like throwing logic at stuff. So he's more like a talk host with a little bit of comic, but the point though is he talks about real things, and what's interesting about that is that when you talk about to somebody about like, well, there's this like illogical story or scenario in your religion, and people just can't hear it because they can't imagine being wrong. And what it is basically the ego attaching to its identity. And if you say something that's contrary to that, then they're automatically a fool or wrong. And, and when you talk to people about diet or about anything that they've done for a while, or
Hmm.
the fact that they believe something's working or has worked or think it's gonna work, and you say contrary, they
Hmm.
automatically makes they resort to avoiding looking like a fool, even though it might cost them their life. They rather be right and not look like a fool, even though it's going to cost them their life. And it's just crazy. Like something that hits like this nail right in the head is that woman that made that short video that I saw on TikTok about a month ago, and then someone sent it to me on Instagram, so it's starting to float around. But it's this woman. First, you see this heavy overweight girl. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fat positive, da 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 da." And then the host says, "She's dead." And then there's another one that says, "Oh yeah, I'm for like eating whatever you want. It's okay to be big. Don't judge." She's dead. And it goes through like five or six like these podcaster girls and men that are just
Wow.
obese, right? And then she's like, "She's dead. She's dead. He's dead. She's dead. He's dead." It's just absolutely
But
nuts. It's
then
like
there's
people,
so many people who do eat really bad and are still living, like in their 70s.
well, they're only living because they've got good genetics or they've got youth on their side.
Oh, so
Because after you,
in the I know youth is you can do almost anything food wise, but I meant like the people that eat really bad and still are alive in their 70s. We could go deep into this, and I would love to walk through our two you different. I wonder how we would be like both of us with how much religion do we have and what we eat. Like if we talk to each other right now about what we eat, how much arguing would we have, and how much would you say I'm wrong and how much would I say you're wrong? We have a lot of similarities in our diets, but we have some differences right now. And I don't know if you're curious about exploring that.
I am curious about exploring that because I think that's really good for this type of content and people
Yeah.
actually hearing and listening. I think it is good. Um, but as far as the point you just brought up, I like what Mark Twain said, and I forgot what other philosopher said this, but a mark of intelligence is to be able to hold opposing thoughts
Yes.
at the same time. And most
Yes.
people can do that because they just don't want to be wrong. So I noticed that people that are like executive or they're like salespeople or they're like, liked by many is that they don't really hold like an opinion. Like for instance, one thing that this situation that I just came across in the news today is that Donald Trump met with Elon Musk because Elon Musk is like, right now, the second richest, well, he's probably like the third or fourth because Jeff Bezos is now the richest. And then
Yeah, yeah. And the stock market
second.
affects their net worth and blah, blah, blah. But they're up there beyond. Yeah. Top
Yeah. But,
three.
but then aside, there's like two or three families that actually really like own everything. They're like really on the DL and all that
Yeah.
Illuminati shit that people talk about. Anyway, aside from all that, let's just say they're the top five most richest people on the planet. Um, But Elon Musk said, I can't support either candidate. And I thought to myself, like, yeah, even
Thank
if he did,
God.
he really can't do very much because he owns too many important companies.
Hmm.
So you get to a certain point, though, you literally cannot afford opinion. I noticed that the more well known I get, or the more people that I know, I can't afford an opinion.
Well,
You just
I've been
can't.
wanting to make YouTubes for my whole life. And once I started doing into the acting world, it became like, oh, well, if I say the wrong thing, I won't be able to get a job, or like I'm totally with you. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like I want to be courageous and be able to have opinions, even though it's really strange in our climate here. And it's funny you mentioned Donald Trump because when I said some people can eat really bad and live into their 70s, he's exactly who I was thinking about.
Oh, well, there's also like Warren Buffett, who's very, very wealthy, but he drinks Coca-Cola or Pepsi all the time. I think it's
Yeah.
Coke, right?
I don't know, but Trump is diet Pepsi or diet whatever,
Oh
diet
my God, that's
something.
even
It's
worse. I
so
don't know.
bad.
I don't know if he drinks. I can't remember. I can't remember what Warren Buffett drinks, but that's literally poison. Is drinking
Yeah,
soda, and even the diet soda is even worse.
we
But
agree. We agree here. We have no arguing there on processed food and all of that. But there's nuance in the other realm. And I just really love what you said, how food is like a religion and like how Bill Maher has his religious movie. Like, where's the
well, it's
food
not.
religion
It's not
movie?
really food is a religion. The point I was bringing is actually whatever you believe is literally your religion,
And not for everybody is it
your identity.
religion, but some people, food is so extreme that it's more of what religion stands for a human. And like some of them are not religious people, but they're so attached to their dietary perspective that they prophesize it. No, what's the word? They go and share it like,
Prophesize or
yeah, they
pontificate.
share it like they're religious, like missionaries, and
Yes.
they convert you and
Well,
freak out if you don't agree with them.
I've also seen this pattern though. The people with like average IQ or a little less, they attach to it because their identity is attached to it. So it's their ego.
Yeah.
Is
So they
what it
can't
is.
change their minds or they can't hold an opposing viewpoint, like you said, because that will challenge their identity.
Exactly. That's right.
So should we try it with us to see how much we're attached to our diets and our identity? See where I know we're both off dairy. So we're there.
Well, I don't know if your reasons to be off dairy is the same as mine, but
And you have an allergy,
well, it's not an allergy. I just don't digest dairy, so I'm
la-
lactose intolerant.
lactose intolerant.
Yeah,
That's such a gift. You've been so lucky. Like,
that's exactly the way I look at it because I've noticed that all these things kind of happen through my life, and it might seem like it's a problem or something, but all the things that have kind of happened to me have all turned out to be like the right thing in the future.
mm,
Like I was just fasting to stay lean for modeling. And then it turns out that my fasting is actually what's kept my body cancer free and repaired and my skin looking good and and healthy. So it's like, but I was doing that for primarily for looks because
mhm.
I couldn't gain weight, but it turns out that's actually what's been keeping me healthy. And then lactose intolerance is lactose or dairy causes inflammation through your entire body and all your joints, which actually ages you. And it's actually one of the major contributors to aging for your skin is dairy. And just by chance, at like 21, I just became lactose intolerant.
Mhm. That we are on the same page there. It took me a long time, and I feel for people who are on dairy because it for a lot of people, they have that part that casein, the case, you know about this, the casein in dairy is like a heroin for some people. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am. I know that there's two different types of milk proteins, and because of the farming that we have here and the cattle and the way they do all of that is the hormones. Our cows actually have the bad protein,
Mhm.
which has actually caused some of this intolerance for some of the humans. But like the dairy is different, like in Europe and stuff like that. So either way, dairy's bad, I think, even if I,
For sure, all of that's true, but the casein is like people have a receptor in their brain that like just like you would get hooked on heroin, they get hooked on it. And it's a heavy amount of it is in the cheese. It's like even a stronger amount of casein in cheese than dairy, than milk. And so I really feel for people who have that addiction because I have it and I overcame it, but it's really hard. And like with all my passion for animals and not being a vegetarian most of my life, I could not give up milk and cheese. It was like crack. It was like how I would ease inner pain, like medicating.
okay, two things on that one. So here's actually right now where we're actually crossing a road on one, your belief versus
Mhm.
what I've learned. And you just hit something, a nail on the head. But there's two things I want to, first, I'm going to mention the benign one, or the similarity is before I became lactose intolerant, I was drinking like a gallon of milk a week because I was having protein shakes. So I love milk. And then I love Mexican food. I eat Mexican food now, but it's not the same without cheese. Because enchiladas, chile relleno, love chile relleno, but I just don't have it anymore. I'll have like, I take a lactose pill and I'll have uh, Canadian bacon, Hawaiian pizza like 3 times a year on a hot fudge Sunday, 3 or 4 times a year. But I have to take my lactose pills to do that. So it's like a treat. But other than that, I don't do it. Um, but so I might have had maybe something along the lines of an addiction like you're talking about, because I love Munster cheese. I love the Mexican food with the cheese and all those cheese dishes, and then pasta with cheese. And then the other thing was fettuccine Alfredo. Oh, I love that. But it takes about a month to break that habit. So that's that. But now, as far as bad for the environment, all of this farming that they're doing for, like, for instance, almonds takes the most amount of water of all the farming and cattle and
Agreed.
everything.
Agreed. 100%. I am anti almonds, 100%.
Yeah, and even almond milk is mostly water and sugar. So it's like not even, it's like just that
It
is
should be
so,
illegal, in my opinion.
it should absolutely should be. Yeah. And again, it's marketing, people are falling for it. So there's certain milks that should just not be
Should not be
on the
allowed to grow
shelf.
almonds in the state of California, period.
But all of, like, for instance, kale is actually dangerous for you because it actually causes micro cuts in your stomach lining.
Let
You
me
have to,
explain. Kale has these things are called oxalates that you're probably referring to.
yes,
Okay,
exactly, exactly.
I have knowledge on that as well. And this is where we're gonna argue and find out how our
Okay,
identities and
but all
egos
of,
are
but all of
attached.
that, but all of that farming that they're doing, they're actually killing the soil because of all of the,
That
because
is
of all
true.
the pesticides and everything. They're
That
literally
is
killing
true.
the soil. For the environment, actually eating meat is actually better, and it's actually better for you. And the best protein you can possibly have to
Okay, you
keep
made
you
a
young.
big jump. You made a big jump. We have
That's
poor
why I'm
farming
mentioning it.
practices.
Yeah, I
And
know, but
then,
hold on. Let me finish it. That way we can
okay,
bring it back to you. So you said that you like that the cattle and the meat eating is you're trying to avoid that because you think it's better for the environment. It's better for environment to actually do the vegan, all that type of stuff. Again, that was all marketing. So the point I wanted to make to that, where we actually have opposing, it's actually better for the environment to actually eat meat, and actually way better for you to eat meat and also eat eggs. So the actual best protein you could possibly have that actually regenerates and gives you, like, the egg is the most perfect protein that you can have, that has the perfect combination of amino acids in the proper ratios to completely regenerate. So it's just literally just the best for you. If you get hurt and you have to heal fast, you gotta eat
do
it. You
you
gotta
have
eat it.
any room in this perspective to hold an opposing viewpoint, or you just want to hold that and not hear my point?
What's the opposing view?
Okay, let's really break it down. So we made a jump from poor farming equals don't eat vegetables versus fix the farming so that we can eat healthy vegetables. That's a separate issue. Secondly, you said that I wanted to go off dairy all my life, which I have consumed a lot because of the environment. And I think the word is a little bit complicated because we're not taking it. When I heard you're not taking into consideration that these are sentient beings. So when you're eating eggs that are from a traditional factory farm in our modern day, the conditions are beyond.
Those eggs, you don't eat those eggs because the eggs, those eggs actually don't have very much nutrients and they don't have the right balance.
Okay,
So
so at
you're
least
actually
you're
just getting the
aware
filler.
of there's different qualities of eggs, so that's great.
You have
So so farming is really messed up. It's 100% messed up. It is monoculture is wrong, pesticides are wrong. So all of that doesn't mean blah blah blah. Now another subject, oxalates that are in the food. I went off oxalates about 4 years ago because of this knowledge. And it did help because I was having oxalate issues. I had the symptoms. I was eating so much spinach that my teeth would feel like glass, but I just kept eating spinach because I was brainwashed. It was good for me. So I
well,
kept eating it.
well, are you eating spinach? Yeah, for actually spinach, which is high in iron, especially being a woman, it's really important for you.
Very high in oxalates. It's one of the
Oh,
highest. So are almonds.
were you
There's
boiling it?
there's different ways. If you cook it, if you eat it with a
Uh,
little cheese, you can get away with it a little better. There's different ways. But I was just
so
eating it raw in a
I'm gonna
salad.
make one comment, and you can continue for instance, on what did you just say? The what vegetable?
I was talking about spinach.
Spinach, yeah. So you're only able to process like 3 or 4% of the actual iron and the nutrients. You need to use a lemon.
I did. I had it with a lot of lemon.
Okay, all right,
I
okay.
would have
A lot of people don't even know that. They think
lemon
they're
and
getting all
olive
this
oil
iron.
on my spinach. Um, so I was completely off most vegetables for a while because of oxalates, and it did feel, but I was getting bumps on my skin. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on,
Wow.
but there's something that they're not disclosing with oxalates are so interesting. That was something they knew about in the 1850s. This is what really, really was one of the biggest conspiracy theories that once I discovered it changed my perspective of reality because I believed so much that spinach was good for me. But they
Yeah.
knew in the 1850s it was full of oxalates and they buried oxalate disease. The spinach industry was born. They created Popeye. They used marketing to brainwash people who already knew spinach was pretty much, you can't have too much of it. They already knew that. but they
Yeah.
changed our society with Popeye the Sailor Man. And I bought into it, and I forced myself to eat something that wasn't tasting right, that was putting glass on my teeth because those crystals, that you can feel them.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
so when I found out that spinach was a scam, like, oh my gosh, what else am I believing to be reality,
Oh, yeah,
you know? But
yeah.
now, because of my heart, because I had this thing growing on my heart, because I was doing the keto diet for a few years. Um,
What? Your heart?
yeah, I have an enlarged aorta root that if it keeps growing, I will die. So they're
Why
tracking
that
it.
happen?
From this high fat diet, which is keto is really a high fat diet. So I got off all these vegetables. I was like, they're poison. This is all this stuff in all the oxalates. You can't have beets. You can't have potatoes. There's all these oxalates.
Can I have beets?
Beets with a T.
What? I love beets.
Well, they're full of oxalates. So not everybody. So oxalates, oxalates we make in our body. Oxalates are in black tea. Most people can tolerate, between 500 to 1,000 milligrams of oxalates. Some people can tolerate more. I probably can't tolerate as much. I was having symptoms. I found the symptoms. I cured myself of that. And I went on this high fat diet, and then my heart started doing weird stuff. So I changed my diet. It's been a year and 1 month, and my
Wow.
heart thing stopped growing. My cholesterol dropped 100 points. I cannot have eggs. I want to live. So I'm not going to put a high fat item in my body. So what's interesting about oxalates is they don't get absorbed in your body if you don't consume high fat. So I'm on what's called a POLOF. It's plants only, low oil, whole foods. And so I can have beets again and potatoes. I still am very minimal on spinach. I will eat spinach, but I don't have like a bag of spinach a day. And it's just so fascinating how buried it is, because the meat industry is huge. They pay influencers, they pay YouTubers. They have so much power and control because they're making so much money pretending like these aren't sentient beings. So when you said I did it for the environment, I wanted to go off dairy because I didn't want a cow to not see the sun. I did it. I wanted to go off dairy because I didn't want cows to be trapped inside with just their things stuck on their nipples all day long. Like,
Yeah, they're others.
oh, and their babies are ripped from them and they have feelings and they cry. I mean, it's just like they have feelings, and pigs and all of that. So I'm on this diet that has doctor after doctor explaining how it works. People are curing diabetes, everything, heart disease on the diet that I'm on.
Plants only.
Plants only, low
Which
oil. It's
which
not
oil?
vegan,
Which oil?
no oil, but low because sometimes there's oil in things. Sometimes it's but low. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. At work on Monday, salad bar, right? On set, and there's the guy's there. He's gonna spin it for you. So I put all the lettuces, all the veggies. I point. He puts it in a bowl. I go, just vinegar, please. And I go, you have vinegar, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, just vinegar. We get to the vinegar place, and he dumps olive oil. And I go, just vinegar. He's like, what? And then he adds the vinegar and he tosses it for me. He gives it to me. I take a bite. I almost barfed in my mouth. I don't want oil. This
Wow.
is it's like, I think it's just disgusting and toxic because I've been off it a year. I don't have any desire for it. I went through the line again. I had the exact same thing, salad, all the salads, all the veggies, the exact same thing. They hadn't changed anything. There was nothing bad in any of and I was very clear, no oil, just vinegar. I had to be very clear. And it was the most delightful salad in the world. And I eat baked potato like it's going out of style, like, so much. And I don't put butter, nothing. I mean, you don't eat butter, but I don't put sour,
I
nothing
do eat
like.
butter.
Oh, okay.
I do eat butter. Oh yeah, yeah. A little butter doesn't really affect me.
So I enjoy the taste of food without oil, and I don't have to worry about oxalates because I don't eat oil. And I'm gonna be. I mean, it's the most healthy diet you can be on, and it's the best thing you can do for the planet. There's just no other. There's
So
no way
what's your
around it.
diet? Just leafy greens?
No, it's really the doctor that has the most, like, no, most well known is Dr. McDougall, and he calls it the starch solution. It's mostly potatoes, rice, and oatmeal, and then you can have fruit and veggies as much as you want. But
Potatoes, rice. Okay.
the bulk of your meal is starch. And in our society, it's carbs. And like when you said food is like a religion or similar, I experience that when I tell people I don't eat oil. I'm like outcast, like I'm the devil or something. Like it's like a mutual friend of ours, I won't say her name, but I was at a dinner with her and some friends, and somebody was sitting next to me and asking me about my diet. And I've lost like, 10, 15 pounds. Um, and I started telling her, and her sister, our mutual friend, yells across the table, "Don't listen to her. It's dangerous. What she's doing is dangerous."
Oh my gosh.
It's people are really scared to consider
Yeah.
like, and dairy or not dairy, meat or not or veggie, that's a long time tested thing. But to say that you don't eat oil is like, people are like, what? And that's like the spinach thing. Like, I didn't know you could cook onions without oil. I didn't know you could prepare food without oil. I didn't know. Excuse me.
How do you cook your potatoes?
You can bake them, boil them, any old thing.
You have an air fryer?
Mm-hmm. Air fryer, Instapot.
Okay,
Lately, we've been doing rice and potatoes in the Instapot all together. I should grab my water bottle right here. Oh, the mic reaches. Yay. Um, it's been the best diet. So, but it doesn't get very much press or clout. And so I'm trying to give it some clout. So I made up the acronym POLOVS. The plants only, low oil, whole foods, to try to make it more fun. But it really triggers people. And even on set on Monday, somebody was like, said something to me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so full from lunch. I had this big salad." And he's like, "You don't something, something." He's like, "You don't eat meat?" And I was like, "No, I don't eat meat." He's like, "That's dangerous. You can only do that for a short time. It's dangerous." But I get where he's coming from, because there's a lot of vegans that are so unhealthy. And this low oil thing is not a part of veganism. You go to a vegan restaurant, I can't even eat. I get excited. This is my identity. This is my ego attachment. I get like, ugh. I can't go to a vegan restaurant because everything is coated in oil. I went to one and I was like, "Can I just have a sweet potato?" And I was like, they're like, "It's baked in oil." Like, I can't just have a sweet potato, because everybody's palates are so adjusted to this richness that they can't sell food in our mainstream society that's not coated in oil. And you can barely buy anything at the grocery store. All those milks you're talking about, almond, you say it's water, it's full of oil. Canola oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, all of them, all the oat milks.
Those are all bad oils, yeah.
And the seed oils, yeah, that's coming out. That's really coming out. You know, the history of seed oils in the 1960s, they were using them to lube machines, to keep the machines going. And then they were like, "Oh, this stuff is made from plants. Let's put it in food." And oh, it preserves the food. It's not actually fit for human consumption. It's not part of history. I always tell people, olive oil, if you don't have a heart condition and you want to have some olive oil, that's totally safe. You can look at an olive and you can see the oil. It's real. But you can't look at a sunflower seed and see the oil. You can't look at a cotton seed and see like, they're doing heavy machinery processing. It's heavily processed. But yeah, so I'm off of all this. I'm on this very unique diet, although it should be so mainstream. So the Dr. McDougall has a TED talk about 10 years. It's 10 years old, and it's about the diet he promotes, which he's cured thousands and thousands of people of all these diseases, is the diet of the past. The diet before the 1980s in most of the world was, in some places, rice, in some places potato, and there were no fat people. He'll say there's no fat people in China before 1980. And so he calls the diet we're on the diet of kings and queens. Like you think of the Renaissance and those big, like, legs of animals that they're eating and the cheese and all that. It's like this rich, rich diet. So I don't know. Thanks for listening, because most people really, I just saw a very unique bird I've never seen here before, like a dodo bird.
Wow, that's the dodo bird.
I mean, they don't exist, but it had that beak.
Yeah,
It wasn't a crow. It wasn't a hawk. It wasn't a goose.
like a parrot.
We have parrots. It wasn't a parrot. It wasn't the green parrots.
Wow.
Oh, that's so exciting. So anyway, yeah, I get really excited. And so basically I am a vegan, except I do eat honey. So technically I'm not, but I'm basically a vegan, but I refuse to be called a vegan, because can you understand why? There's nothing I can eat. I can't have a Beyond Burger. Do you know that's all oil?
Oh yeah, those are bad.
They're all oil. I can't, there's
That's bad.
nothing at the anything at the grocery store labeled vegan. I can't have it. I can have an apple, but it's not labeled vegan, you know? All the vegan food and pre-made, I can't have corn chips. It's full of those seed oils. I can't
Oh,
have,
those are bad.
yeah,
Those are so bad.
I can
Do
barely
you?
have bread because it's full of seed oils.
Yeah. You, do you ever cook your potatoes in your air fryer?
Yeah,
How do you do that?
just bake them. Air fry, you can air fry it or bake it.
So on the air fryer, what do you set it to?
We played with it. Sometimes we air fry it, sometimes we just bake. You have a bake setting on your air fryer?
I don't know.
We have a bake
Like,
setting, but you can air fry it just the same,
okay.
400 degrees.
400 for how long?
About an hour, depending on the size of the
An
potato.
hour? Wow,
Maybe,
that's a
maybe
long time.
45. The Instapot, if you get an Instapot, that's the quickest way. Some people microwave potatoes. My parents do
Oh,
that.
no, microwave's so bad.
I don't have a microwave.
Yeah. My place comes with one, but I don't use it.
I only have them in the places that I rent out because you have to appease everybody, you know?
Yeah.
But it's scary. And then I have one oat milk that I can do, which is the Trader Joe's oat beverage, and it doesn't have oil added, but it's not organic. So the oats are just full of glyphosate, which is really toxic, which is what you're
Yeah.
talking about. The farming is really, really,
Yeah.
really bad. The farming industry. So I hear you, like the factory farming in a way is better for greenhouse gas environmentalism. But I look at environmentalism as like all beings, all sentient beings matter. And so having those animals in those conditions to me is not good environmentalism, but the words don't fit.
The eggs. The chickens have to be pasture raised.
Yeah.
And when they're pasture raised in good earth, so the earth has to have insects and worms and stuff like that, then you have really nutrient eggs. All the other eggs are not very, they don't have very much nutrients. So they're just like a filler. So you've got
Oh,
to have pasture raised organic eggs.
100% agree. And if I didn't have a heart issue, I would probably eat an egg. I used to live on eggs. I loved them,
Huh.
but they're too high in fat for me. So I'm keeping my fat down. And then I can have all the oxalates because if I have too much fat, then the oxalates are going to go into my system. And I notice if I overeat nuts, I'll notice the oxalates, I'll get the bumps on my skin
Huh.
because nuts are high in fat. So I try to eat really clean. But the oat milk is still like I have it and I like it, but I know it's toxic because it's not organic.
Which oat milk?
I only can do the Trader Joe's or the or the Elmhurst brand. The Elmhurst brand is just oats, water, and salt, and the Trader Joe's is hydrolyzed oats, which is probably highly processed and not that great.
Okay.
But I used to live on the big fancy brand everybody likes, Oatly. It's just seed oil.
Ooh, that's bad.
It's
Okay.
so that's and then when you get the barista, have you seen the barista version? It's more seed oil. To make it frothy, they add more oil. So the whole food environment is just a disaster. And like I don't know if you know
Yeah.
Sadhguru. He really talks about the oil, the oil,
The soil. Yeah, the
the
soil is
soil.
so important, the soil.
Hmm. So I think
Yeah.
if they could do a Green New Deal, not anything like the bullshit political Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is like funding regenerative farms. You know the term regeneration, like where they do the insects and get it all like let's put some geese there where they poop and then like have it all become an ecosystem again. I could
That's
see like
great.
where they break up these monoculture farms and give people an opportunity the way they did the General Corps of Engineering in the after the Great Depression. They got all these people to work building dams and doing stuff around, about that in the 40s. Like to do it like a Green New Deal like that, where they give people an opportunity, like who want to start a new life on a small plot of land and get them started in regenerating small farms and getting those chickens to grow to have the eggs like you're talking about and to like, they have to have you can have I'm not against people eating a cow that lived on a farm. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not against nature, and animals die and we can eat them. So I'm
Yeah,
very unique.
the only way I see to do it is to actually get land
Well, so
and
I'm
get
saying that
off.
if the government did the Green New Deal and they gave people land opportunities, the way they gave people jobs to build dams, like, you know, and yeah, you could, like, my friends have chickens in their backyard, you know, you could have chickens that you make your own eggs.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, they're the
That'd be
best. There's
great.
nothing better than fresh eggs from somebody's chicken coop.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a
I heard that
huge,
there's someone I can actually buy eggs from. There's like people that do that.
yeah. And people are getting smarter. And so things like that are happening. But when they talk about this Green New Deal and they're going to fund these solar farms and wind farms, I'm just like, this is just corporate money grabbing and a political thing. If you really wanted to do a Green New Deal for the environment, it would be regenerating the soil and coming up with a plan to regenerate the soil. And if that means like, hey, you unhoused people, here's some land. You got to till it, plant some stuff, you know? So, how does that sound when you hear me talk like that? I'm assuming you eat meat, but you're not telling me I'm going to die if I don't eat meat.
You're not really competing. You're not an athlete and you're not pushing yourself hard and you're not breaking down muscle regularly. So I'll tell you a story. There was a guy that was running the number one largest vegan product. The company, I forgot the name of the company, but it's a great podcast. But he later in life, he got into competitive cycling, but he just couldn't be competitive. And the doctor said, "You're malnourished. You've got to eat meat." And he started to eat meat, and he was at top of his game, and he was a lot more competitive, and he was no longer sick, so he had to eat meat. So we're not all exactly the same, but it isn't like every human's different. There's groups of there's people that need meat, there's people that can't digest dairy, there's people that there's it's more like groups of people. But
That's what
he
I've
just
heard a
happened
lot.
to be
I hear that a lot.
yeah. So he just happened to be, but he was running the number one largest vegan. And vegan, the people are just they're looking at it like a religion, and they're just like the company, even though it saved his life and it made him healthy, people would there'd be uproar and there'd be like negative press and people would be not eating there just because they want their own ego and control. Anyway, he had to give up his partnership with the company. He had to sell it to somebody else because for him he had to have meat, and
Well,
he would.
this is again like not a whole story because there's so many unhealthy vegans. And if you have a company selling a vegan product, I don't think it's a good product because there's no vegan product that needs a company to sell it. All the vegan products you need don't have a package. So if it's a packaged vegan product, I don't think it's healthy.
I'd have to look
Pretty
up the
wild statement. That's a pretty wild, broad statement I just made.
yeah, but I don't know the company, and I'd have to see why they're
But
packaging it.
exactly, I don't even need to know the company. I know that if you're making something and selling it as vegan, it's not as healthy as just going to the store, getting potatoes and rice and veggies.
Oh, okay.
So when a
I,
lot of these vegans are so unhealthy, a lot of vegans are so sick, a lot of vegans are super obese. I don't know if you've seen how bad it is. And
well,
like I hear,
those vegetables have to get to the supermarket somehow safely and not get contaminated. So there's going to be some sort of packaging. Either way, I don't remember the company name. I just remember I I extrapolate important information and then move on. I don't do like these people that memorize names and recite poems and stuff because I want to impress other people to show them how intelligent you are. I get the important information and I move on. But he was running the largest vegan company and he was competitive. He became a competitive cyclist and he had no choice. He had to eat meat. The doctor told him, you're malnourished. You have to eat.
Well, a lot of doctors would don't agree that you can live like I live, but a lot of doctors do. So he just went to that type of doctor because all the doctors I study with.
Yvonne, if I paid for you and got you a trainer and made you a competitive tennis, because tennis would be very, very good for you. And
Okay, this is where we're going to argue because there's a lot of vegan pro athletes that you can find on YouTube.
I didn't hear what you said, so I was trying to tell you something. It's just out because it's just so entertaining for this YouTube stuff. I will pay for several months for you to do a tennis camp and pay for the trainer and spend that $2,000 a month just to prove a point. And you're going to have to eat better than that. You're not going to get by with your diet.
So can I get one of the trainers that I watch on YouTube that train people vegan? Do you know what I mean? Because I could do the same thing for you. I could pay.
Yvonne, you have to wait for me to finish the statement. I got to finish the sentences. You can't just jump in the middle. So I know that if I did that and got you a trainer, got you like physically very active, there's no way you're going to be able to be competitive and stay nourished and recover well enough without actually eating some sort of animal product.
Okay, so here we are, Mark Twain.
If you wanted to do that,
Mark Twain.
Hold on, I'm almost done. I'm almost done with what I want to say. I'm so close. If you wanted to prove that point for this whole thing, we can do that. I'll pay the $2,000 a month just to prove that point that you will need animal products. Do it for 3 months and do some competitive sports where you're breaking down your muscles, which is actually the number one contributor to living long and fighting cancer is actual muscle mass, which helps with your bone density, especially as a woman. That's the best thing you can do. Really is.
I agree. Bone density and muscle mass are super important. I totally agree with you. And here's the Mark Twain part. Can you hold two ideas that oppose each other?
The point though. So what would you do if you started breaking down muscle and you actually started doing vigorous exercise? The only reason you're getting by with this and you're not malnourished is because you're not really pushing your body. You're not competing at anything. You're not really pushing it. You're not tearing it down. You're not really building muscle. To build muscle, you have to rip the muscle. And you're not under.
I agree with you. I used to be an NCAA athlete. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
So
I don't know what you look like now, but I remember you had really nice built legs.
Oh, I was a super track star, soccer player.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that. You still have your legs?
And they're pretty good. They're skinnier, but they're still muscular. They're still great.
But compared to when I
still ride my bike, so.
Hold on. Compared to when I saw you and I knew you back when we were living in Hollywood with the view of the Hollywood sign, which is now what, 15 years ago?
I got off the lease there 6 years ago, but you left sooner.
Yeah, I left in like 2010.
Yeah.
2011. You had really nice built quadriceps. You had really nice legs.
Yeah.
So compared to that, 2011, what's the percentage comparison to the size of your legs now?
They're smaller, but they're still very muscular.
Percentage.
I don't know. Okay. Wow. But I love my body now, like you wouldn't believe. Like I love.
Yeah, girls like to be skinny.
Yeah.
But you know what? But also that's how some girls are with bulimia. They're like, oh, I like the way I look, but it's like,
oh no, I love muscles. Don't get me wrong. I have to have muscles. I'm with you. If you want to do this training thing, I'm in. I don't know about tennis. How about soccer?
You got something with a trainer, something you got to be pushed, or it's gonna have to be weightlifting.
I like weightlifting.
Yeah, that would be the most important thing.
I love weightlifting.
Tear down your body everywhere. Then that's what's even better. But tennis, but the thing with tennis though, is that and I can't remember this guy that I watch, but for cognitive ability and to stay young and to fight Alzheimer's, you've got to do some sort of eye-hand coordination.
Yeah.
So table tennis, badminton, tennis, those air hockey. What's that other thing with it's like air hockey. Those are all very, very good. It's a hand-eye coordination. Video games, very, very good for you. But tennis kind of just does it all at once. Swimming's also very good.
I'm open to all that. Yeah. I'm open to that. I used to love tennis. I want to say like, I would love to challenge you back and go like, I can build muscle mass and I can get all the protein I need from beans. and B12. I need a B12 shot once in a while. That's about it.
Beans.
Mhm.
Okay. So in that case, in your body, what we would have to do is we'd have to do like 2 months of you doing your diet and getting your protein from plants. And then look at how much muscle mass you gained, and then do 2 months of actual animal protein. And if you're able to gain more muscle,
But the animal protein might make my heart explode. It's the only problem.
so okay,
Unless we could get it in a powder form, right? Without the
hold on.
high fat.
I know what you said. I remember you saying talking about that. Even though eggs have cholesterol, that cholesterol actually is what your body needs to turn into estrogen and testosterone. So cholesterol, it isn't like adding that cholesterol doesn't add cholesterol to your blood. Your body actually converts it to what it needs. So it actually doesn't, eating eggs does not raise your cholesterol. And a lot of people don't know this, but look, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor either. So 2 months of you doing your diet and see what happens to your
Could
body.
we both
And then,
do it?
huh?
Can we both do it? Like you try my diet too for 2 months
Oh, I don't
and see if you can build muscle mass on my diet and see how you feel.
I don't want to even, I don't even want to do that. I don't
So
care. I
you
don't,
only want to challenge me, but you're not willing
I don't,
to
but I
see
don't
how
care.
your body builds muscle. Okay, so maybe after my 2 months on bean protein and I build muscle mass, then maybe you would be willing to try it.
Wait, you mean forego animal protein
Yeah.
and
And
then
and
get,
there are tons of people who do it healthy and have big muscles, and there are tons of people who are bodybuilders, big weightlifters who don't consume animal products. I'm not making this up, you know. It's just very much because the industry is so money, follow the money, and they fund the influencers. You're not going to be seeing these videos readily because they get buried. I send somebody a video, not vegan because I don't like that word. I send somebody a video about the starch solution Polovs, and then autoplay on YouTube. The next video is a meat one. So there's so much more meat video out there than there is the information that I'm sharing. So
you know the information you're sharing because I actually watched that documentary on Netflix. I don't know if it's called Forks
the
Over
blue zones,
the Forks Over Knives. I
forks
don't know
over
if it's
knives.
that. I don't know if it's that one or another one, but it talked about these athletes that were only eating the vegan and vegetables and stuff like that. Like for instance, an ox and a horse, they're very strong, a lot of muscle mass, more than a human.
Gorillas.
And they're even eating. I know, but
Yeah.
we're all different.
And
For
I hear
me,
that a lot. We're all different.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my
we're all different.
doctor,
Huh?
my doctor that I follow,
Yeah.
he says he's treated thousands and thousands, 50,000. He had a clinic and all this stuff. He says that this diet works for every single body. He is so funny because I found the moment he said that in a video, and I made a video about it yesterday or the day before. Because all these people, everybody's different. Oh, that works for you, but it wouldn't work for me. And I'm just like, I just think it's funny, like, and I agree with that on some way, but I love hearing this doctor say, like, nope, it's absolutely works for everybody. I'm just like, okay, well, maybe, but I'm not saying it's true, but I just think it's like funny to hear him profess this after his 50 years curing diabetes and all these diseases.
I guess it depends on what the objective is, because anyone can eat anything and survive. I guess the
Right. We're
idea.
not talking about survival. No, we're not talking about
Okay,
survival. We're
and
talking
then
about thriving. Thriving.
thriving, and then for how long, and then
Mhm,
thriving in what way?
mhm.
Building muscle. So one, we have to figure out all these type of tests that you want to do to prove that it's working. So
Or you can, or I can send you videos, or we can watch them here together live or something, of people who have been on an all plant diet and who have muscles, who train hard, and who've done it, sustained it for many, many years. You can look at that as well.
and then we watch it, and then we took in the information, and then it exists, and then there it is, and it's real because it's there. Then what? The only thing we're talking about is actually us doing it. The only thing
Okay.
that's going to change is I'm not going to disagree with the information. I watched that documentary, and
Yeah.
a horse doesn't eat meat. An ox doesn't eat meat. An ape, a gorilla does not eat meat. It's already proven. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I, with eating eggs, just feel a lot better and I repair a lot faster. I just repair a lot faster. I just do. So the only way this is going to
And I
prove a
think you're
point,
honest. I think eggs are great. I'm not against eggs at all.
the
And
only
I
way we're gonna, the only way we're going to prove a point to you and prove a point to me is if we do these tests,
let's do it.
figure out what tests these are, and are we building muscle the same rate, whether it's
Yeah.
with eggs or plants?
Yeah.
And then you have to agree that for me, one way is better than the other, whatever it is. You just acquiesce. So we have to find out what those tests are. We have to do both diets and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Because science and technology has gotten so much further now that we can actually do these type of tests. Like
Yeah.
those devices where we can actually find out what exercises
Looking
work.
good there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I said, looking good. I saw your arm for a second.
oh
So just back to the beginning of like Mark Twain and being able to hold opposite opinions at the same time. How are we? Can we gauge where we are with, we just did this kind of as an experiment. We're very similar in some dietary terms, but we found some new differences. How are we in our identities and our egos? Like, how are we right now? You know?
you like to eat plants and I want something more fulfilling, so I'm going to eat eggs. I'm
But
going to
how
eat
are
eggs.
we being with each other, having the like
I'm
how
fine then. I'm fine. But see, the thing is, I'm not upset about it. I'm not annoyed. I'm fine. That's good. If that makes you happy, that's the other thing too, this is like falls under placebo effect and also happiness. And if you really believe that that's making you healthy, you actually might be manifesting better health. So it's actually working
I don't
because
know.
we know
They measure my heart with the whole echocardiogram. That's what I'm using as my measurement because if it goes, so normal aorta is 3 centimeters. Mine was almost
you,
4 when they discovered
you,
it.
you eat any supplements,
Like what? Like vitamin C and zinc?
like any pill whatsoever of anything.
Most of my supplements are in a bulk supplement form of powder. So I do a tiny like micro scoop of zinc. I do
So what I would do in this crazy world that's not very nice is I would put animal protein in your powder without you knowing it because you believe. Hold
well,
on,
that's what, yeah, go ahead.
because the point I'm bringing right now is that placebo effect and believing that you're happy and healthy in itself manifests that. So there is some level because I forgot what guy I can't remember the story right now, but people were just the fact that they were just happy and that their family, they have a family unit, they had a good social structure. They were actually eating not such a good diet, but then they were actually healthy. So I know what you're saying, and I know it's working for you, but just to prove it for sure, is in a world where I can control and fuck with people, I would actually put animal protein in your powder and then test you to see if like all of a sudden you have these problems you're saying that you would have because you believe that you're actually not having any animal products. And hold on, that's the only way I would be able to prove that. I would have to actually trick you.
Well, I feel totally safe with that because if you can do that, that's what I was going to say. It would have to be in a powder because I can't consume the fat with the animal protein. So I would be totally open to consuming animal protein in a
There's
powder.
no fat. There's no fat you can get from powders.
Well, I believe if they break it down and just to the protein source, they're not putting a lot of fat. I'm
No,
not sure. We'd have to
I
look.
don't
But if
know.
I eat a piece of steak, there's going to be a lot of fat.
What about fat from MCT oil or coconut?
That's not good for me. But like, if you want to just do the protein powder, I'm so down for that.
Okay, can you have well, protein
You know what I
powders are
mean?
hard because most of them use the whey protein, which is a milk lactate, which is
Mm.
the cheapest of all proteins. So it's just nasty.
Well, maybe we could get a better quality one. But
The
I'm just saying
problem
it
with
would not be so risky for my heart to do the experiment if we manage the if we it's not about it being vegan or protein, it's just about keeping the fat content low.
well, see, the thing is for you, which will only be fair and nice and healthy for you, because we wouldn't be able to do this with you actually pulling blood, you know, every day or every 2 or 3 days to make sure that it's not affecting you adversely because you're talking about some serious stuff. And a large aorta, and like
Yeah, that's a thing that's growing on the heart. So I don't know if pulling the blood and the cholesterol, I don't know. And I don't know if they know that if the cholesterol is the reason why my, it
oh,
just
you're
happened
not
to be
sure what's happening.
it just happened to be a byproduct that my cholesterol dropped 100 points. I don't know if that's why the heart, the growth stopped growing as well. I
Is there
don't,
a growth, or is it a thickness to the
it's
muscle
like
in the
an
wall?
abscess, as far as I understand it. It's not your
Oh,
typical heart disease thing. It's it's a growth, like a pock, like your aorta root's supposed to be like the blood goes through a hole, and then there's a pussy pocket that's like expanding and growing on it. And
and this is still there. Is it still there?
they say it doesn't go away, but I've stopped it from growing. And if it grows more, I'll test it again in November. If it grows more, they're going to want to do open heart surgery and do some. I don't want any more surgeries. I've had so many
Yeah.
surgeries.
Well,
Had
see, in
so
this
many
case,
surgeries.
the only thing what would be smart to do would be MRIs, because you don't want to do CAT scans and X-ray. Well, X-ray doesn't even do flesh, but we have to do MRIs to make sure it's consistent every week. So we're talking about like additional costs to do this properly, so it's not adverse to you. So that, you know what I mean, and then
Yeah.
you do
But
that.
even simply is to get me on a workout regime with weights and see if I can even build muscle. Do you know what I mean? Like we could do a complicated scientific one. I mean, we can even just do like, hey, are you able to get back into the shape you were in on this diet?
Well, let me ask you this then, regarding what you just said right now. Let me know if you know this, if you heard this, um, which is also a lot of women have difficulty with, you know, losing fat, because that's a lot of women also focus on losing fat as a primary. I don't go to the gym to lose fat. I go to the gym to tear down muscle and build more muscle,
Mhm.
and everything else is secondary to it. Where women are going in there for the primary thing to get you know, to be smaller because they want to look good in photos, or they're going to get married, whatever their freaking reasons are. Um, uh, But when you're going in there and you're just doing cardio, especially when you're doing cardio more than 15 minutes, or for sure past 30 minutes, your body then wants to preserve it. Okay. And if you are in a fasted state and you are also doing cardio, what happens is that your body then starts to burn the muscle because it's the fastest nutrient. Because after it burns whatever's in the liver, which takes about, you know, 20 to 40 minutes, after it burns that, it needs to find another source of energy. And it's only recently, I don't know how, you know, how many years we figured this out recently, but the next source is actually muscle. And because it's able to burn, it's able to use muscle protein and tear it down to use it for energy within, like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, where it takes several hours to burn fat, to actually start breaking down fat. So it starts to burn muscle down first. So, which is not good. So there's several things that we're going to have to like agree on and know to do this properly, so we can preserve your muscle and then build muscle. So like you'd have to, you know, eat, and then so when you're working out, you're actually able to tear down your muscle without without eating it, without um, atrophying it, without breaking it down for nutrients. You want to break it down so you rip it, so you cause stress, like the sauna behind you. Like a sauna causes stress,
Mhm.
which does regeneration. Cold showers causes stress. Ice plunging causes stress. Fasting causes stress. Tearing down the muscle causes stress. So that's good stress, because that's where we regenerate. We do anti-aging versus eating it for nutrients. That's not good. That's bad.
Right.
So, okay. Did you know that the first thing you do is after you eat all your sources of what's in your liver, you actually then start breaking down muscle first?
I think
Did you
so.
know that?
I'm not sure exactly. I just know for me right now, I don't have much fat to lose.
Well, okay. What kind of working out you doing?
Um, Basic shit, riding my bicycle,
You're
walking,
not breaking down a muscle. You're not breaking down any
Zumba.
muscle. You're not breaking down any muscle.
Roller skating is the best of all my stuff. I really want to get on a
That's
soccer
more
team.
endurance. You're not breaking down any
I need
muscle.
to get on a soccer team. That's a badass sport.
Well, the other thing was funny, it was you that actually I did this with. We used to go to the park and do sprints, and you used to do three
Oh,
in a row. That's all you got to
yeah.
do. Or the other thing
Well,
too in your place is just do your jumps. Just do jumps like as high as you can. And you're only gonna be able to do like, like 8 or 10 or 12 the first time anyway. But you just do 3 series of jumps and you're going to do like 15 jumps. And that is going to tear down the muscle and keep it conditioned so you don't lose any. So
okay.
that alone, if you just did that, especially being female, like that will help you
I'll
tremendously.
totally do that and I will film it.
Just do that. Perfect. Just do
You
just
know?
do that to minimum. Literally
Like
just do that. If you do nothing else,
I've got
when you
kettlebells that are on my to-do. I have a bunch of things I used to do. So what
try to
happened when
jump with the kettlebell, then yeah, try to jump, but jump
my
as high as you
heart
can.
diagnosis spooked me a few years ago. And that's when I stopped sprinting because I was afraid that my heart was
Why?
because I got
Oh,
spooked. Well, first it was just a weird EKG that was flagged in like 2017 or 2019. I think it was
um,
2019. I know it was before the pandemic because people are like, is this because of the vaccine? Like, no, this started before that. But so I got spooked. But now that it stopped growing, I would love to start sprinting again. I love that stuff. It clears the mind too.
totally. Yeah, it makes you
It's
present.
so good. It's so good. But I got
Yeah.
chicken and I started to think like my age. Like, so I would like to recondition my mind that I can be an athlete again,
Yes. Yeah. Again, manifesting.
and not
Yeah.
fear that pushing my body to the limit. Cause
Well, let's see.
a
But
trained,
why don't you look up to see MRIs? Because the only way you're going to know for sure is if you do like on an MRI schedule. So do like every 14 days, you have 2 MRIs per month. So you can monitor that in your heart because as long as that stays the same or decreases, you're fine to do this.
okay, I wrote that down. I'll look
That's the
into it.
only thing.
Um, yeah, I was gonna say like so many runners died of heart attack. Like like people like ran, and then they die of a heart attack in their 40s.
Like the first guy that did the marathon. Did you know that? The guy that ran from in Rome, I guess, or was it Greece? The first guy that's
I know
ever
he died.
ran a marathon.
I didn't know he died. I just know a lot of runners die in their 40s.
He had to carry information because back then it was, there's no transportation. It was horses or running. And he ran 20, 24 some miles. He passed the information, then he ended up dying. The first guy that ever did that. And it was because it was war or something. It's a great story. But yeah,
And,
a lot of
and I've
people, you're
never
right.
done long distance running. I'm not a fan of long
Me
distance
neither.
running. But and then I got spooked about sprinting. So I really want to make sure I can sprint and not die.
Oh, it's so good for you.
That's
It's
all
so good for you. It's like
I
one of the
want.
best things.
I just
Yeah.
want to be able to sprint and not die. Am I asking for a lot?
I think from everything all my research and learning and stuff, the sprinting, like doing just fast, high stress, high power movements that only lasts like a minute, 30 seconds is the absolute best thing. It's
One
like
thing,
you don't have to do 31 hour cardio. It's just not good for you. Unless you're like a long distance runner or competing or something, it doesn't make any sense for longevity and for health. It just doesn't. So doing sprints is like very, very good.
one thing we could start simply if we wanted to really start tracking something simple and like not too expensive is one of those scales that tells you your bone density, your fat percentage. Do you know what I mean? Do you subscribe to them, those being of
Yeah,
value?
I got a Fitbit, and then I ended up buying the Versa, whatever the scale, thinking it was going to do that, and it doesn't do it. All it does,
Well,
it
they have
synchronizes
them.
via. All it does is synchronize via Bluetooth to my phone. It doesn't even give me BMI.
Yeah, so we should each
So
get the proper scale that shows bone density, body fat percentage, and then track that daily. I mean, I don't know if you like that would be huge if once I start this if I start the working out with the kettlebells and the sprints, it'd be really cool to see even if we don't have the blood test every day or something, you know what I mean? It'd be really, really affordable to like
Well,
check
the
that
blood
out.
test, the blood test was because of your health condition.
Oh,
The
oh,
stuff
okay.
you're telling me is serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if the actual main thing is this, what's happening with your heart, then it's the MRI.
Yeah.
But if you were worried about the cholesterol, then that would be the blood test.
Yeah.
So, but yes, find out what scale that is, and then we can do let's do another talk, and then we'll see what the scale is, and we'll get it, and we'll see where we're at.
Yeah. Cause that would be really interesting to see. Cause I know like my muscles are not what they once were, but last summer, I've been on this diet a year and a month now. So last summer, I was the strongest I've ever been physically, like
Oh,
being
that's
able to
good.
lift things. And I was the thinnest, and my muscles were muscle, but my arms were the smallest they've ever been. I'm not as fit as I was then. I was doing that job, managing that off-grid property, and I was moving 10-gallon tanks of propane around
Oh,
and
that's so good.
giant gas cans and all this stuff. I was freaking cut like you wouldn't believe. And I was eating this diet, and I never felt strong. When I first took the job, I was like, I don't even know if I can lift these. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I mean, I used to lift weights in college and all that, and even Hollywood a little bit, but I couldn't believe how strong I was on that diet, and so I was telling people at the time, per square inch, I'm stronger than I've ever been at 50 years old, per square inch, because I was the smallest I've ever been and the strongest I've ever been.
Well, your size could also be because of water weight and inflammation,
Well, also that oil just coats you. So the oil was
yep,
this thicker coat that
which
just makes
causes
you bigger.
which causes inflammation.
Yeah. Because I cooked everything in oil. I consumed so much coconut. I was on that high fat diet that I didn't gain weight. I mean, I stayed my average weight, which was like 15 pounds more than I am now, the same weight you met me at.
The
But
thing
I
about
could eat unlimited coconut oil, unlimited amounts of butter, and not gain weight.
So you can't have coconut oil now? How about just MCT oil?
No, I,
Hmm.
I keep my fat grams really low. So it's either or. So
Avocado?
you can be healthy for, they say, some people do it long term, but on high fat, no carbs, people are getting healthy, they're curing diseases and so forth. But it's on some scales, doctors are saying, yeah, you can do that short term, but you have a heart. So you're doing high fat. But and I'm doing high carbs, low fat. But if you mix them, you're gonna not be healthy. You
Hmm.
can't do both. So you either pick the high fat ketogenic diet, which like they call it high protein, but it's really a high fat diet if you look at the
Right.
percentages.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then I'm doing the high carb diet, low fat. And if you mix high carbs with fat, you get fat and unhealthy. So it's either or. So I'm on the carb side for my heart. But I also love it because like when I said environmental reasons, I love it because I'm kinder to the animals. It's not about greenhouse gases.
Okay.
So I love that aspect of it. But I also love how I feel. I love how I look. And I love that my heart thing isn't growing. But I can't mix in MCT oil, which is what I lived on 2 years ago. You know,
Oh.
I can't mix it in. When I was on MCT oil, I was avoiding carbs.
So you're not, so our brains are like what, 70% fat?
Yeah, but there's fat in my food. Like I eat
Where
nuts
are you
and
getting fat from?
avocado. Huh?
Oh, you're getting avocado. Okay.
Yeah, I have fat in my diet. There's fat, protein, and carbohydrate in every living thing. It's just what
Are you
percentage?
using butter?
No,
No
no,
butter.
no. But there's fat in potatoes. There's protein in potatoes. There's every I mean, some of the foods I eat are not full of fat, but the beans all have fat. Beans have fat, protein, and carbohydrate. Like
Are you adding salt?
yes.
What salt are you adding?
My favorite is Malden, but right now we're on I think just real salt. We're gonna and then I was on
Where
Celtic.
where are you
Celtic,
getting
do you
Celtic
know
salt?
Malden?
That's Celtic salt is the only salt you
Celtic
should
has the
use.
highest mineral content, and Malden is right behind it, but Malden tastes better.
Yeah, but you got to find out where they're getting it from because of all the microplastics that are coating the world,
Yeah,
the
yeah. The
earth.
Malden and Celtic are very high quality. You just have to look at Malden. It's as high quality as Celtic. Celtic is in the 90 something minerals, and Malden is like 78.
Well, the thing is that they're taking it out of the earth where it hasn't been adulterated by plastics yet.
Yeah, but those are really expensive salts. You'll see what I'm saying. But then I agree with you. Salt is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
But right now we're on, right, somebody recommended real salt, so we bought real salt, which is like our, the brand
I don't
real.
know.
It's decent. It's maybe 50 minerals. Like,
I don't know. I don't know where they're getting it from.
it's a decent one. It's not the greatest. Celtic is really great. It's just, maybe I got to get the Celtic in the rock salt version. But if you taste Malden, it's the best. It's so,
Ron, I gotta go.
yeah. This was great. I enjoyed it, and thank you. And I'll play with it and upload it and stuff, and then we'll do more
Okay, excellent.
as soon as possible.
And then we can do follow-ups on these things. So, what's funny is when you go look at all of this, you can get little clips and then we can do follow-ups on it. Like, okay, because of this discussion here, this is the scale. Because of this is the salt. Because of this is where this salt's from.
Yeah.
Because of this is, you know what I mean? We can start to follow up with the conversation and just interject it in there.
Yeah. There's another software we can use where we can actually play our old clips and then comment on them too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we need to set all that up. That sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care.
Okay. All right.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.